state your name for the record.
So my name is Kathleen Wynne. I'm the Member of Provincial Parliament for Don Valley West.
Okay, thank you. So Kathleen, what was it like dealing with the media when you were Premier? What was that like?
I actually enjoyed dealing with the media.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed the exchange.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wasn't always 100% happy with the stories that came out, but for the most part, the reporters here in Queen's Park, or whether they're in Ottawa or when I would travel, they're smart people. They are insightful. They're looking for an angle, and they're looking for information. You know, so I enjoyed that
You
back
enjoyed
and
working
forth.
with them,
I did.
okay.
And then the second thing I would say about that is that journalists have got a very hard job right now because of the changing nature of journalism, and so I was very aware of that they're under a lot more pressure. Their press offices have been cut, and so you know, it was a challenging time for them.
What has been the highlight of your political career?
Oh my goodness. I have been so blessed and lucky. I mean, I loved from the moment I was elected as a member of provincial parliament, and in fact, the moment I was elected as a school trustee in the year 2000, I really enjoy helping people to find solutions to problems, and you know, as a constituency politician, that's what the work is. I got involved in politics because of my belief in publicly funded education. So being the Minister of Education was such a privilege, such a privilege. And of course, having the privilege to lead the party and be the Premier and to enact changes that I really believe in, all of those things have been they've been very important to me because I have been able to make changes that have an impact, I think, for the good on people's lives.
So who's your favorite politician to work with?
I think my closest colleague was Deb Matthews.
Deb Matthews.
Yeah, she was the Minister of Health for a long time, but she and I came into office at the same time.
So she's your favorite because of that?
She was
one of the
really,
ones you enjoyed working with.
Yeah, she was really a touchstone for me. It was very important to me that we worked closely together. She and Liz Sandals, the three of us, had a very close working relationship.
That's great. And I don't mean asking a negative question, but who is your least favorite to work with?
I have found it very challenging to work with leaders of the opposition parties. But, you know, I have to say, on a personal level, Andrea Horvath, Tim Hudak, they were very collegial and still are. You know, I saw Andrea Horvath yesterday raising the trans flag, and she's very collegial. But it's been hard, in my experience, to have a really fruitful dialogue. At that level, at the leader level.
What was it like working with Prime Minister Trudeau? What was that like?
Oh, it's been great. You know, I came into the leadership when Stephen Harper was the Prime Minister, and he really did not want to work with the provinces, period, but he certainly didn't want to work with a Liberal Premier in Ontario. And so that was a real challenge. So it was such a relief, and I worked very hard to help to get Justin Trudeau elected. I campaigned for him in 2015.
You did, thank goodness, yeah.
And I will support him again. But it was a real pleasure because we were on the same page on so many important issues. Yeah,
that's great. So for my long-form essay, I'm trying to figure out the relationship between politics and the media. How do you feel about that personally?
Well, you know, that goes back to your question about working with the media. I believe fundamentally that the media has an important role to play, and that it's my responsibility as a politician to help them play that role. It's not my role to try to hide things from the media. It's my role to the best of my ability, give the media the information that they need, because they shine a light on things that we have to pay attention to. I'll give you a perfect example. I'm going to be asking a question possibly this morning, one or the other, but I've introduced a private member's bill that would, if it were passed, would mean that seat belts would have to be mandatory in school buses.
Yes.
And I learned that there was a report that I didn't know about when I was Minister of Transportation in 2010. There's a report that was done by Transport Canada in 2010 that actually comes to a different conclusion than the report we relied on from 1984. 1984 report said school buses are safer without seat belts. 2010 report actually comes to a different conclusion about seatbelts. So, I mean, that's a narrow example. It's an important example, but it's a narrow example of the role that the media plays in digging out important stories. Government is a huge endeavor, you know. It's a huge, big, monolithic, well, not monolithic, but a diverse
It's a very
entity.
complex machine.
It's a very complex machine. And so media plays an important role in shining a light.
Do you feel that the media treats politicians fairly or not?
Some.
Depends on who?
Yeah, it depends on
Yeah.
who. You know, I'm not going to pretend that I think I was or our party was treated fairly by the Sun. I don't know if you remember before, at just the beginning of the election, there was a whole plan that was
Yes.
released by
It was very
Canada
terrible.
About what their objective was, which was to defeat us. That should not be
No, that should not be the
media's role. And so I would say there was no way I was going to get a fair shake from them.
What do you think of the Jim Acosta situation with Trump? Have you paid attention to that at all?
Yeah, so the last I heard, he'd gotten a temporary pass, and
Yes.
they were applying for an
Yes.
extension of that. You know, I think it's outrageous the way President Trump treats the media. I think that he either doesn't understand or chooses to bully the press, female reporters, but obviously male reporters as well. And I think it is a very, very dangerous path that he's on, because he's undermining an institution and pretending that everything that the media publishes and prints is false, is fake news. That does nobody a service, and it certainly doesn't do democracy a service.
No, it's terrible.
It is.
You haven't met President Trump personally,
I have
you?
not met
Okay.
No.
Thank goodness.
I've met former President Obama, though.
Oh, wow.
It's fantastic.
That must be
Yeah,
incredible.
it was great.
I love that. What do you think the future of the Ontario Liberal Party is going to be?
I think it's going to be strong.
I think it's going to be strong.
I think that of course we're in a dark, low moment right now,
Oh,
and
yes.
with just 7 members. But the federal Liberals were in virtually the same position. If you look at the percentage of the House of Commons,
Yes, they had the
percentage of
greatest-
the legislature,
greatest
they were
seat
in
gain.
third. Yeah, so I believe that people want the Liberals to be strong. They want our centrist view of the world, and we have a great opportunity to rebuild. We had a provincial council a few weeks ago, and 800 people from around the province.
Yes, I heard
came.
about that, yes.
It was remarkable. We expected maybe 200. So there's a lot of good energy to rebuild.
When do you think a reporter is asking questions in too an aggressive manner, coming from your personal experience? Well, I mean, what do you do with a reporter who's asking questions in a too aggressive manner?
I try always to not be defensive when a reporter's asking me a question. Some of the questions that were really difficult in the lead up to the election were the repeated questions about, well, how do you feel about your low popularity ratings, and how do you feel about that? And I tried always to not take it personally, and to kind of say, I think that's beside the point, and answer what I think was important, which was about the policies that we were implementing. But I don't shy away from aggressive questions. I mean, Richard Brennan from the Star used to.
Oh, yes.
stand,
Yes.
Kathleen, he'd shout at me, and
that's
Steve
terrible.
Leslie would shout. But they're trying to get their voices heard too. So I was pretty patient with that.
That's fantastic. Do you feel like the media treated you fairly or too hard when you were a premier? Or
Well, again, I think most of the media was very fair.
Was very
I
fair
think that
towards
there
you?
were some publications that
shall not be
really,
named, yes.
Yeah, that they just didn't believe in what we were doing, and they were not neutral, and that was a problem.
Yeah, that's not good. Those were all the questions that I had, but I'm personally very involved with the federal Liberals. I go and do volunteer.
Great. Okay.
So what can I personally do to get involved in such a thing as a political internship with the Ontario Liberals?
So there are applications. I mean, you can do a legislative internship. I don't know. Have you looked at those?
I have not looked at it, no.
So Peter
Peter.
is a legislative
Peter,
intern.
the guy outside.
Peter, you should talk to Peter
Yeah.
because he can give you all
Yeah.
the advice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those were all the questions that
Great.
I had.
So which riding association are you involved with? In Scarborough.
I'm not.
Liberals.
No, I just volunteer at the federal Liberals.
So
Yeah,
are you
I'm
involved with
from.
Rob? Rob
I'm
Oliphant?
a little bit. Yeah, I volunteered from back in 2015
Oh,
and
okay,
stuff
okay.
like
Yeah,
that.
I was thinking
so,
Scarborough.
no. I do stuff more with the federal Liberals. I haven't really done
Okay.
anything like caucus in Don Valley West, so I haven't
Well,
really done anything like that.
we'd love to have you as part of the provincial
Thank you.
Liberal
Yeah, I
organization
appreciate it.
anytime.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you so much for
You're
your time
very
this one. I
welcome, and
appreciate
good luck.
it. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you for
Are
all
you
the help.
enjoying?